Hi, everyone. My name is Max van Rossum. I am co-founder of the Amsterdam node and also of ADA Timestamp, which is our flagship Web3 NFT project. ADA Timestamp is here what I'm to talk about, so let me get straight to it. Let me share my screen over here. I'm very excited to get the opportunity to speak to you guys all about this, all the way from Amsterdam to New York. And I'm sure that all of you know that New York used to be called New Amsterdam until the British did some things. But yes, I'm sure everybody knows that already. You get told that by every Dutch person you meet. But we're not here to talk about history of New York. We're here to talk about ADA Timestamp, history in the making. And let me tell you what ADA Timestamp is. ADA Timestamp is a project that is focusing on allowing people to create a digital legacy. It is about creating the most singular, epic timeline in existence. And where are you going to build an epic timeline that can be shared for generations to come, that is decentralized, that everybody can participate in a trusted manner? Cardano is a pretty great way to get started, right? So let me tell you a little bit about what brought the team together that behind ADA Timestamp. And Cardano is what brought us together. Of course, we people behind this project, we're all fully doxed and we're all visible on all our social media and our websites and you name it. We know each other from way back, and yeah, Cardano was what brought us together because of its vision, the ethos of trying to create a system that makes a better world. And that is also exactly what ADA Timestamp is focusing on. It wants to celebrate the positive impact that this system can make by using the system itself. So yeah, let's get a little bit into what I mean behind that. So an immortal archive or museum of sorts, right? That's what we're building on top of Cardano. The community members that we will be bringing together are going to be the first that can actually own timestamps as represented by the Cardano blockchain. So I'll get a little bit more into that, but the name ADA Timestamp is going to get very clear very soon, because you can actually own moments in time of the Cardano blockchain and exhibit whatever you want on that moment in time that you have in your hands. Excuse me. Here we see, going back to history a little bit, where did it start, Cardano? One of the first things that I remember, apart from Charles's whiteboard video, was the roadmap. That was what really brought my attention in, because there was this very clear picture of, we need to also think about, of course, decentralization, smart contract scaling, but governance. I think that's going to be one of the most important, most difficult, and the one that's going to have to bring the standing of that's going to prove whether this can stand the test of time. Now, this epic journey of Cardano started in 2017 in September, and that's also then the genesis moment of where ADA Timestamp sets its first NFT for sale. So the first day will be the genesis day of the Cardano blockchain. And as far as we can mint is only until today, because we can't mint further than that the Ouroboros protocol has defined time going by. So we have a very structured approach with which we mint. And by the way, this is all in our technical paper online, so you can see it there. So for the first sale that we're doing, it's 1,041 days, 208 epochs. And each one of these days, yeah, so this is the first phase, of course. Each one of these days has a timestamp attached to it. You own that unique interval in time as represented by the Cardano blockchain. And it's both in terms of human readable form, because this is not just meant for people who know how to read epochs and slots. This is meant for everybody, right? We want to bring this to a much wider audience. This concept of owning a moment in time, if any place is a place to do it or to sell it, right, a moment in time, it is on a decentralized architecture, and Cardano's is the most decentralized and strongest and safest that we can imagine. So what you get, you know, what we're talking about with creating your legacy with ADA timestamp is you own this moment on the Cardano blockchain. You can then customize that and submit it for entry into the museum, the archive for generations to come. And this is what we need and want a community for, right? This is not going to be defined by us. Of course, we're going to integrate decentralized voting and management principles, and I'll get more on that a bit later. So this is what you actually get when you own your ADA timestamp. At the moment, it's a beautiful piece of art created by Dimitris Lodopoulos, who, by the way, is also known for the Cardano roadmap. So I'm quite sure that Dimitris Lodopoulos is the only artist for the Cardanoverse that was known before NFTs were even mintable, right? Because they only started at the end of Shelley, or well, after Byron. And that's something that is quite unique, this artwork that's created by Dimitris Lodopoulos. And secondly, of course, is the moments in time defined on the NFT. And our minting approach is very structured in the sense that we mint only as the Ouroboros Oracle defines time for us. And that's very unique because we're not an open and shut NFT project. We have a long-term vision, and that is what's going to set us apart, we think. We know. So here you see an example of, you know, a user customized NFT project. This is, of course, the third part beyond the picture, and the timestamp is what we really want to be building, is this ability to customize your moment in time. If you own this first epoch, you know, slot 0406, epoch 1 slots 4725, well, that corresponded to a specific time, right? So this is the 29th of September going all the way up to the edge of the 30th of September. That is what we want to build, and that being able to customize that. And that's here you see an example of an artist showcasing a piece of art that they've made, but you can think that this is much broader in terms of utility that you can use it for, right? You can showcase the wallet that you have, not for the amount of ADA that it has, but yeah, you can present here the fact that you've collected art. You can make your a legacy of moments that you've experienced, anything that you think, your project that you started on Cardano. There's a lot of things that people we think will want to share here. So here's a little bit of a tiny view of where we are at the moment. The originals, like these are only parts. This is just where it starts, right? You get to edit what's going to be on that particular timestamp. On the right, you see that here, and I just pasted here hastily. I'm going to be totally honest, but here you see the website as you launch it, paint upon the canvas of time. Yeah, we're still playing around with some of the terminology, if I'm going to be honest. Come to our Reddit and give us some ideas for that if you have any. Here you see, you know, the timeline of Cardano, which you can scroll through, and here are all the NFTs that are available now for sale also. And here you get a little bit more of an impression of, yeah, you know, what it looks like to scroll through a blockchain in terms of time as well. These are all defined moments in time of the Cardano blockchain. Moving on, then let's go to, you know, why is blockchain important for us? So, you know, the front end is still hosted in a quite usual Web 2 way, you could say. Long-term strategy is, of course, to decentralize parts of that as well. But, you know, why Cardano? Firstly, it's really the oracle that defines the moments in time, as I already said. It's also the platform that manages the trust, the ownership, the editing rights, and governance is also going to play a crucial role. Cardano is going to play a crucial role in governance. And yeah, I mean, these NFTs, ADA timestamps, the moments that you sell them, you also sell the rights to edit the data, right? So that's going to be a very interesting market and dynamic that's going to exist, because moments in time, you know, each moment in time is special to someone, and some moments in time are special to everyone. And it's up to the owner to keep that moment in time and retain the rights to customize it or to sell it on. And we have a bunch of ideas about how we can perhaps make that more dynamic, allow multiple users to customize it. And we want you guys to be part of that conversation and start testing that out with us. Finally, why blockchain and how are we building this in just a high level overview is, of course, decentralized storage is going to be crucial when we're talking about long-term, when we're talking about storing permissionless, open, robust. IPFS is, of course, one of the first ways in which we're going to store data, but it's certainly not the only idea for long-term storage that we have in mind. The idea here is that we don't want to become a data hoarder, right? We're not trying to be like many other players in the whole, let's say, data and media fields. We have a very different approach, and that's also going to be visible in what it is that we're trying to accomplish. So we want to become the timeline, the most epic timeline in history, where people come together to celebrate pieces of their lives through a shared digital legacy. And yeah, that's really what I want to reiterate also, is that, this isn't just about buying a day. This is about becoming part of this vision to celebrate positivity. And we think that we still have a lot of development to do, a lot of growth to do, and we want people to become part of this. So it's really exciting to use blockchain technology for this, because it really allows us to build new things. And Cardano's approach, its open approach to governance, it's how seriously it takes decentralization, are all parts of what really excites us about building on top of Cardano. Yeah, other than that, I just want to tell you that we're a stake pool. We've been a stake pool for the past 2 years. We have a 0% variable fee, and we aren't just coming out of the blue. We are, I think, really part of the Cardano community and have been for quite a long time. We're in this for the long haul. So please have a look at our websites, join our community, give us feedback, ask us questions. We would love nothing more. And thanks so much. So the sale is live is ada-timestamp.io, and the Reddit community, which is still has some growth to go through, is at our ada-timestamp. Thanks so much. And then I believe there were some questions. What is ada-timestamp? How does it use the Cardano blockchain? Well, I think you've seen quite a bit of that already. I can just go back a couple slides here. Shall I make this a bit bigger? How are you guys? You guys seeing me? Boom. Well, that's about as much as it's going to go. Oh yeah, this is why blockchain? Actually, this was a little brainstorm session that we had, so it's not filled in here. So NFTs are, of course, one of the really important parts. It is the way in which we govern and define moments in time. Super important, right? So that's a really critical one. And it's also the way in which it can transact. So we're using the NFTs as liquid rights, right? So the moment you sell your NFT, you're selling the right to the customization. And that's going to create a very interesting dynamic. But the NFTs are the way to govern that. So that's inherently how we're using the Cardano blockchain. Decentralized storage, of course. Everybody's familiar with NFTs, IPFS, how those two interlink. One thing I should also say that's interesting with Cardano is that you can add metadata to transactions, of course. More on that later, but that's interesting with Cardano. Governance, super important. There's many governance toolings that Cardano is already provided, or actually IOG, and that we're of course going to leverage and use. And there's a bunch of projects that are focusing on this as well, right? Which are super. So we're going to be in close contact with them. And smart contracts, well, one of the amazing things about the way that we have minted and our minting is that we're already thinking ahead to how would we scale going forward. And NFT fracturing is something that is very possible with the structure of the metadata that we have, because we're using Ouroboros as our quote unquote oracle for how we define time. We can also very transparently and robustly split moments, days, into smaller moments, right? So smaller intervals of time, hours, minutes, for example. And that's something that smart contracts are going to play a huge role in. So if you want to go from a day to 24 hours or from 24 hours to a day, how would we do that? Smart contracts seem like a very good option. Second question was, can I talk a little bit about the artwork, original artwork created for each piece of time? Yeah, so there is a light paper also on our website where you can see all the rarities for each piece of art. They're all unique, of course. They will have a unique piece of time. And they're all created by Dimitris Lodopoulos. So he, yeah, I mean, he is the OG artist of the Cardano roadmap, and he is the artist of the Byron mint for ADA timestamp. So that's super cool. And yeah, we took some mathematical approach to defining rarities because, yeah, Germolado Cardano, for example, was a scientist mathematician, and yeah, we took prime numbers is quite defining in how we approached rarity. So if you look closely, you'll see that prime numbers have quite a bit to do with how we establish rarity. And yeah, there's you can see in the artworks, of course, very clearly that there's differentiation. And some have a portrait of Ada Lovelace, of Gerolamo Cardano, or of Byron, and that you can see. Third question was, with the rise of deepfakes and other forms of misinformation, how do you see projects like Ada Timestamp preserving history and the truth? Yeah, now that is a very good question. This is in the very root of what we are trying to build. And let's say that the way that we're going to approach building is very similar to how blockchains themselves work and form consensus. So I think that is going to be crucial in our product strategy. Inherent transparency is also really important. And yeah, it's great that the Cardano blockchain already has that. And, you know, you can see it already by the way that we're selling and the way that we're approaching managing the whole project, right? So that's already built in. And yeah, I think what's so unique about blockchain and history, preserving history and the truth, preserving data, is really, if you go down to how blockchains work and how they incentivize people to sustain the network, is that they get some form of value out of it, right? So if it's the native token of ADA, they get that value out of it, but there's also ways that you can protect a timeline like ADA Timestamp is building, this decentralized archive, by relinquishing the value that it creates back to the users. So if you're creating a valuable ADA timestamp, a valuable moment in time, that value is bestowed onto you. And that is going to help us also in fighting misinformation, because the whole community benefits by fighting misinformation, preserving history, and preserving the truth. And there's the blockchain gives a lot of mechanisms that you can design around those principles and those objectives. Fourth is, how is this project built to last for future generations? Well, this comes very closely to the previous question, but also, I mean, the simple answer is Cardano is built to last generations, right? So we're doing that right also. And a decentralized approach to building, of course. So we're starting with IPFS. I'm not saying that that's going to be the only way in which we store data for the long term. How can people get involved was the final question. And that is, of course, what I already said. So the Reddit, please join the Reddit. Give us your comments and feedback and thoughts. We would love nothing more. And if you're really into the project, then you can buy an ADA timestamp at adatimestamp.io. Thanks so much, everybody.